Okay, finally we are back. And I was able to fix this issue because it was quite bad. So essentially, welcome to the stream again. This is the second part of the stream. Like an hour ago or more, I created a stream for Adaptix C2, but there was an issue, and the issue was not with the Adaptix C2 itself, but the issue was with my own OpenSSL configuration. And you can see what I went through here. First, I uninstalled all the OpenSSL version and bundles and packages and so on, and then I needed to manually install them, but I was not able to get a sudo. Why? Because sudo also required libSSL. And I went into rabbit hole of debugging with AI, and I was able to fix it by manually downloading packages, installing them, and now everything seemed to work right. And now we have the Adaptix C2, but we have it with a little bit different configuration. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. Now on this hand side here on this page, yeah, I'm back. Now on this page we have the Adaptix C2, but now it's running inside a VM. Now with that VM, we can use it to connect to the Adaptix C2 and operate from there. So we can mimic C2 inside the client's organization. Now to make things more clear, I'm gonna make sure we have this graph right there. Right, now here we can modify some of the parts. So in that case we want, actually we don't want anything, right? So this is my environment. We have the router of the gateway, we have the server right here, right there, and then on this server everything here is virtualized. So I need to also do a VM there. Now I have my Ubuntu laptop from where I'm actually streaming, and on this Ubuntu laptop we have the Kali VM, which has different IP, but you get the idea. Now, this Kali VM was the issue because we wanted to set up Adaptix on it, but it turned out that my OpenSSL was completely messed up and it was not possible until I fixed it, and now it's done. But I have another idea which I think can be more beneficial to you guys, so we can show off some more networking skills. So I'm gonna explain what I mean now. Okay. So here we have, as mentioned, our PC. On this PC we have a pfSense firewall which is virtualized. And now inside this firewall we have a lot of machines down the line inside its own network. Right. Now on some of these machines is the DC01, the Quant01, and we also have Kali. I like to call that Kali internal because it's in the internal network, right? This has the IP of 172.60.60.130, I believe so, and that's the Kali inside. Now this is also connected to the pfSense firewall. You can imagine it, if it's a real engagement, you can imagine this to be a machine you send to the client so he can plug it and so on. And essentially we want to connect to this Adaptix C2 server here from our Kali there. So we want to make this connection. Now usually this connection is not possible. Why? Because we have firewall restrictions and we need to explicitly allow the port of the Adaptix to be enabled. And that's what I did. So on here, this is the firewall interface. Now before diving into that, let me first showcase the Adaptix configuration. So I can open a new tab, cd into Adaptix, then cd into dist, and now here cat profile. Now in this profile, I'm gonna make the font bigger. You can see the port I specified to be 9000. Endpoint is the default. I changed the password, generated certificates, it worked on this machine without a problem, and essentially we are good to go. Now this is my configuration. I run Adaptix C2 as I did before, Adaptix server profile and profile.json. That's about it. And now what I did next is I went into the firewall, and since I have pfSense firewall, I'm using that. Now it's all virtualized, by the way, the firewall is a virtual machine, so you can set it up at home also. If you need more guidance and videos on how to set it up, do that in the chat so I know what kind of content you guys need to see actually. Okay, so on this Adaptix, on this firewall, you can go to the firewall and NAT. Inside the NAT, I've created a new rule, and that's the rule. So essentially what I do is I allow and open port 9000 on the firewall, and from this port 9000 you can reach the Adaptix C2 on the IP address of the Kali internally, which is also port 9000. To double check that, I can open a very simple terminal and I can do nc 192.168.0.250. Why? Because this is the external IP of the firewall. And if we want to engage with the Adaptix from any machine which is inside the firewall, we need to use the external IP, which in that case is that. So from there, I can also specify the port 9000 minus NV, and we can see we have a successful connection, so we don't need it anymore. Now, as mentioned, I've already fixed my Adaptix C2, so I can simply do Adaptix client, and from there I can specify my connection, which is saved by the Adaptix, and here we have the username Kali, which does not matter. Usernames are arbitrary and they are not that important because they can be anything. We have the password, which is a pass123. Project is going to be stream. The host is again the firewall because we just forward the port down the line. And then port 9000 and the endpoint is the same. Now by doing connect, now we can see the Adaptix C2. And what happened now is we did not do a direct connection, but we did a connection to here. And from the firewall, since it's forwarded, the connection is down the line to the Kali internal machine. So we can maybe mark this with a different color, so maybe green, and here we can also do it green. So we know from where our packets are actually going. So now all the packets are gonna go over the firewall, and that's not the usual setup. That's not how you usually want to do things. Usually you wanna outsource the C2 outside, and maybe again connect from your client and so on. So we can try to make this more realistic. Actually, let's do that. Let's now change the configuration a little bit, and instead of doing that, I want to set up my Adaptix here as a bridge network. So from there, it's going to be still a virtualized machine. So we need to modify the graph. So it's still going to be a virtualized machine, like from the PC, but since it's going to be in bridge mode, it's going to receive IP address directly from the router. So it is going to be treated as a normal machine inside the network, and we can use our client to connect to this VM and pretty much perform our operation. So let's change the settings. Instead of doing that, let's do that. Right, that makes more sense. Because usually the C2 frameworks are outside of the organization, not inside. I know there can be places and in cases where that's needed if you need to operate completely locally. But in that case, usually that's not how it goes. Usually you have the C2 externally accessible and you access it from your client, and from there you operate and attack the specific network. So that's going to be main idea. Now, in order for that to happen, we would need to do a bunch of settings beforehand. Now, the first setting we're going to need to do is to actually change the VM settings. So I can go to settings, I can go to network, I can do, now I'm inside VMnet 19, I want to do bridged, replicate physical network state, and OK. Now, if we wait a little bit of seconds, in VMware, I don't think we need a restart. So there it is, the adapter is gone, and boom, now we have outside for the firewall IP address. So in that case, we have the IP of 0.152. So in that case, it's going to be that 0.15. What was it? 152. Yeah, okay. 152. Okay, there it is. And now we need to again set up Adaptix C2 and essentially do exactly the same thing, but now we're going to operate with more realistic environment. You get the idea. So from here, I want to see the profile. So cat profile.json. I don't think we need to change anything because the IP is different, but the port, endpoint, password, certificates are all the same. So in theory, if I run the Adaptix server, and in theory here, if I close the connection, open a new one, and do Kali, password, pass123, project is going to be stream, host is going to be 192.168.0.152, the new IP now, port 9000, and endpoint is going to be /endpoint. In theory, this should work. Project already exists. Okay, let's do stream 2, connect, and there it is. And now we can operate with more realistic approach, because now our C2 server is going to be that. This is just our client, and that's how you can connect to our different C2 frameworks if you have the password and the connection info, of course. Now if we do another Kali VM, we can still connect to this one and still operate using this as a server. Sweet, sweet. Now we're getting somewhere. How did you set up PFSense? Yeah, if you want, I can make a video about it, because it's not one simple answer process. I watched videos and I followed walkthroughs and I ended up installing PFSense. It's not actually that complicated, but still needs a bunch of configuration, and hardest part is after you install it. It's how you configure it. So if you want, yeah, I can make a video about it, but I really don't remember what was the thing back then. So now we're done. Okay, now we can finally talk about Adaptix C2. Great, perfect, we're back. And now we are ready to operate with this C2. Okay, now the UI is good. This is the main tab for the callbacks. We have reconnect button. We have tabs for screens. I believe, yeah, downloads, tunnels, which is good. Usually this is my like one level above Havoc, because the UI is similar, but it adds something that Havoc do not have. When you have some kind of a wood inside Havoc, you need to manually go to the directory and essentially see and extract it. Whereas in here you have specific tabs from where you can see all the wood, including screenshot and so on. Okay, then we have jobs and tasks. We have graph view, session tables, logs, and listener and site. So I guess we have to start from here. On the settings, we have settings. I like the thing that we can adjust the main theme, we can adjust the fonts, we can make it bigger, smaller, we can configure how this is gonna look like. So having the ability to customize stuff is always piqued my interest, because I like to customize anything I use, and essentially I enjoy that super much. So shout out to the developer for adding that. Now I don't know what extender is, but I believe it's some kind of a plugin stuff. I think that should be plugin and stuff, but for now we're gonna close it. Then we have projects. So simple C2, simple UI, simple usage. So on the usage tab we can do maybe, for the general UI we can do something like 9. So with the listener, let's do create a new one. Let me see what happens if you create an agent. You cannot. Do we have any errors? Nope. So we're good. And let's create a listener. Now that's gonna be 3 maybe. What's that button? Welcome profile. We don't want that. So listener type, we have beacon HTTP. We have Gopher. Okay. We have Gopher over TCP. We have beacon but bind over SMB. And we have bind TCP. So we have 4 main types of listeners: HTTP, TCP, bind SMB, bind TCP. I think if we have reverse SMB, that's gonna be also a nice thing, because I really find often that companies use or allows for external SMB connection, and that's not a rare thing at all. So I would add, if I can also suggest that to a developer to have the ability to perform a reverse SMB, not bind SMB. But for now it's good that we have 2 options for HTTP and TCP using Gopher. So by specifying beacon HTTP, we can configure it. So we have not that many options, but I think it's enough. So from here we have main settings, host, port, and bind. Now this is the place where you can set up redirectors. So if you have a redirector, you can set it up here, and that should be fine. But for now, let's set up the IP of the server. So 192.168.0.152. Port is gonna be 443. Fallback, or actually here are the redirectors. Sorry, my bad. Here are the redirectors. In that case, we're not gonna use any, so I'm gonna specify the same thing. Now method post that's not that good, because from what I see, it uses just one method for communication, or that's the initial one, I'm not sure. Now the URI.php, never mind. User agent is that beacon ID, we're not gonna touch it for now. Use SSL, and we can specify the if I do create, what's gonna happen now without these keys? Oh yeah, it works. So we don't need to specify certificate, so maybe it uses own server side certificates. I think so. So it maybe uses the ones from the server side, and I hope that's the case. Now if we go to edit, we can also specify custom headers. Of course, if you are doing that for video, you would also want to specify request headers and server headers. We can also tweak the page error, because that's an IOC if you don't do that. And of course the page payload, also a bunch of data can be added so it can look more realistic. Now from here, the fact that the template is the same is an IOC for me, because no matter how much data you add, it's gonna always go back and always task, let's say, the same payload template with different data. So if you add more fields, like field 1 is gonna be test and so on, and if you add maybe field 2 is gonna be test 2. Now the only different thing is gonna be this payload here, and if you modify the JSON data, yes, it's better, but still having the same template is bad. So that's on the Adaptix. Of course, it's in development, so that's something the developer maybe need to care about. What I can suggest is some kind of a randomization at least of these values here, so you can maybe insert the tables with different values and they can be randomized each time with different values, and essentially also looping over different requests and not only having post or get as the request for the Adaptix. But for now, I think it's fine. And we have this right here, it's listening, it's running, and it's fine. Now what I can do is just to ping if it's live. So what I can do here is nc 192.168.0.152.443 MV, and it's open, which is nice. And now I guess we need to generate an agent. So right click, generate an agent, and there it is. We specify the listener, we specify the agent. The OS is gonna be Windows, of course. Architecture 64 please. So as format, we have exe service, exe data with shellcode, pretty much all the things you need. You don't really need more than that. You don't need more than that. You need to be able to inject that as a service, as a DLL, as a shellcode, and as an exe, so that's completely fine. The jitter is fine. Queue date is also good that we have such kind of thing. The set work time I enjoy so much. Set work time means that if you know that your organization, your target organization, has work time for maybe 9 to 5, exemplary. Of course, you can set up the work time here. So after 5 p.m. Triggers and hits, the beacon is no longer gonna work, because some companies tend to detect beacon activity during non-office hours and non-work hours, because the beacon is gonna loop over the night and over the morning, before and after work. So having this option here is extremely useful, especially for teaming operations. And I like it. I think that this needs to be integrated into more C2 frameworks. That's 100% a must. Service name, we don't need that for now, because we don't use a service as a format. It's going to be exe, so we're going to leave that as a default, and I can click generate. Okay, how to parse working time? Yeah, of course. Sorry, generate. Now I can go to desktop and paste it there. Okay, and agent x64.exe. Alright, it's there, we have it. So I can open a new terminal, I can go to my desktop, and there it is, the agent is here. Now, agent itself is not that big, it's 80 kilobytes? Yeah, because that's in bytes, so I guess it's something like 80 1000 kilobytes, so around 8 megabytes, which is not that big. No. How much is that? I kind of get lost in my math. Bytes to... Yeah, it's 0.08, which is not much at all. It's not much at all. It's super lightweight agent, which I enjoy. It's portable, it's useful, I like it. Okay, now it's there. What we can do is to somehow transfer it. We're not gonna go over the whole initial engagement and initial attack vector. Usually this can be anything like phishing or maybe service exploitation or things like that. So yeah, I know you guys have a lot of comments. Let's see what happens here. Oh, you can import plugins similar to C. Yeah, okay, nice. Nice. I mean, it's not that large. It's not that large because if you get agents like Apple from Mythic, if you get agents like Sliver payloads, yeah, it do not have 1 megabyte. I've seen agents with 8 megabytes. A thin agent on Mythic is 60 megabytes. 60, not 16, 60. So it's super much. Here we don't have even 1 megabyte, which is not that much. Yeah. So I know there can be agents less than that, but I can for sure say that's not a big agent at all. So as mentioned, we're not gonna go over the initial access because this can be anything like phishing or server-side exploitation. We're gonna test the C2 itself and how it works. So here I can do Python m minus Python 3 minus m, HTTP server 480, then go to my VM, a Windows VM, download and use there. So let's see how that goes. I can set up my client 01. I also have some kind of boot team testing stuff on that machine, so we can also take a look at that and see what detection rule might be triggered. How much was the payload on Sliver? How much was the payload on Sliver? I think it's bigger. I think it's at least 5 megabytes. I think 1 gigabyte? Nah, that's way too much. Are you sure it's that? I think it was less than 1 gigabyte, but yeah. Oh, you mean metaphorically speaking? I don't think that's the right word. Metaphorically, ironically. Never mind. Okay, so we have the VM now. I think we have internet connection, so I can do curl google.com just to verify. There it is. Okay, perfect. Now what we can do is open Edge, make sure my defender is stopped so we can test. Yeah, you got me. Oh yeah, you got me. Yeah, maybe yes. I'm gonna reach out to the developers, explaining that we need SMB, and also I don't think the SMB here is that much of an issue. I think the biggest issue so far is the inability to rotate requests and to use different kind of payload data. Because if you go to edit and page payload, the agent is always gonna use this as a template. So it's always gonna be a JSON. It's always gonna have that. It's always gonna have that. And the only different thing that is gonna be over the network is gonna be this thing here. So having a template is bad, because if you have a template, your payload and traffic is predictable. And I think the main problem with Adaptix currently, right now, is that exact thing, including the non-rotation request methods. But let's see how that goes. So on here, I need to turn off Defender. So here, turn off, and now HTTP. 192.168.101.152. I think that was, oh no, that's the agent. My IP was different. 231. Yeah, that's the client. There it is. Now I can download it. I said I can download it. There it is. Now the first things first. Oh, nice. We didn't trigger the. Oh, we did. Never mind. Never mind. Keep anyway. Okay. Now I usually, especially when I debug something, I like to execute things from the console so we can see if we have any logs, if everything happens, if we have errors and so on. So I'm running that agent 79 kilobytes. I run that. Go to the client. Nothing happens. Oh, there it is. Sorry, my bad. Session table, and there it is. We have the payload. If you go to logs, new beacon, execute on kill to that, my IP, local IP, and my username. Also my machine name. Okay, perfect. We have it. Double click, and we have the console. Right. That's nice. Okay. Now, what we want to do? First things first. Help. Do we have tap out complete? Ah, that's bad. Yeah. Nope. Maybe we need tap out complete. But we can use the arrows. So using the arrows is also nice thing because we can simply see the commands. Okay, now these are the help menu and the options. So let's see what it can do. And as expected based on the size, it's small, lightweight payload. So we can do most of the I/O operations. So we have CAT, CD, CP. We can see mounted drives, which is useful. Can I do that? Disks. Like that. Okay. Perfect. Nice. We can download. Okay, and we can execute BOP. Okay. Manage current download. Huh? That's interesting. Oh, we need a file. Okay, so that's something like a. But what's the difference beside exfil and download? Oh, we can download a file, and we can manage downloads with exfil. That's nice. That's good. I like that because if you specify to download a file, with exfil you can stop and pause the download, and then you can resume, which is nice. Okay, get UID, prints the UID. Let me try that. Get UID. Nice, that's good. Connect to a pivot agent, that's also nice, so we can have multiple agents and the traffic can go through them. We can manage remote port forward. Perfect. We can move files, create folder, configure the payload, that's nice. So we can do profile, we can set up the download chunk size, queue data, and work time. If we do here profile, yeah, there it is. We cannot adjust the jitter and we cannot adjust the callback interval, but still, it's fine. It's fine. I think that's also super important to have, to be able to configure and reconfigure your beacons, because sometimes you would need more sleep, sometimes you would need less sleep. Okay, I'm gonna run help again, then go to PS. What's PS? So we not only can list, we can also queue processes, but we can also run a program from here. So we can do PS list, PS run notepad.exe. File not found. That's strange. Never mind, we can see process, and I enjoy that the processes are having tree view. So you can see which process is a sub-process of which one. So we can see it starts from system has registry, SMSS, and so on. So we have a nice tree with the process, which is nice. Okay. Then beside PS, we can of course PWD, ref to self, revert to original access token. Okay, that's good. remove of our folder, remote, port forward, sleep, socks, terminate, unlink, and upload. Listen to this masterpiece. Yeah, back to track, sorry. It's not much. It's not much, chat. The server. I think it should be the server. So we need to. It's gonna the agent the beacon is communicating to the server. So if it does port forwarding, it's gonna be for the server. So we need to connect and use the proxy on it. So yeah. The GUI. I'm showing the GUI. Yeah. So what I think it must be added, what I think it lacks, is the ability to run PowerShell. The ability to run .NET assemblies. I doubt it has MZ bypass. I doubt it has CTW bypass. We need the host rotation. We need the method rotation. And we need the external assembly. So that's already 5-6 things that this C2 needs to be in order to be efficient. But still, I kinda like the UI. I enjoy the idea, but in order for it to be useful in real engagements, these things need to be added. So the sleep time is here. Sorry, my bad. I didn't see that. But essentially, you can reconfigure the sleep time. So that's at least good. Now also, it's good that you can task manager. Okay, let me try that. Oh, these are the commands we've executed. Okay. What about job center? Oh, that's it. We have the graph. Perfect. We have downloads, not so much. We have the screenshots. Okay. Tunnels are there. Walks are there. Listener is there. Okay. So it's a simple UI. It's really simple UI. How to execute a CMD command? Let me see that. It's not the best thing to do, but I want to check how that's possible. So maybe that's for BOF. Maybe PS run cmd.exe maybe. Okay. File not found. Help PS. It's good that you can also have sub-help menus. Like you have help general, help menu for PS, and help menu for PS run. Okay. So it okay, so run -s cmd.exe and ipconfig. How not found? Is it gonna spawn notepad here? No. No. So the only thing we can do is execute BOFs, which is good, but I don't think it's enough. So the next thing I want to try and point out, because usually it's no you already know what CD is gonna do, you already know what cat is gonna do, BOFs. There's nothing that fancy on the function side, but I wanted to see assemblies. I wanted to see BOFs, assemblies and PowerShell. But still I think it's a good thing. Now, the fact that we have ref to self should indicate that currently the developer is working on something for token manipulation, because most C2s can create tokens if you have credentials, and ref to self is used to delete that token and use your original one. Now, I don't think we have such kind of thing for creating tokens, but maybe that's under development. Don't forget that this C2 is under development, and for now I think it's quite a nice job to have this kind of progress. Now what I want to test is how this behaves under the radar. We can open Defender now and scan it. So I'm gonna turn real-time protection on. Make sure my sample submission is off. Always do that, guys. Always turn off your sample submission to off. And then scan it. Right click, scan with Defender. 0. In that case, BOFs are enough, indeed. If it's not detected, in that case, executing BOFs is quite enough. Now, what those can be done is, I think that was the machine. Yeah, here I have a thing called litterbox. Now I've already have a video about what litterbox actually is, but essentially that's a sandbox environment. So we can go to desktop, we can go to litterbox, and then do Python 3 litterbox.py. Okay, run that. We need sudo, we need administrative privileges, so run as admin, copy my current directory, paste there, and do Python litterbox.py. Now when you run that, you can enter a web server like this one. And when you enter this web server, you can upload files, and then you can analyze these files both statically and dynamically. And essentially this is super useful because it combines things like Yara, PEC, and Moneta for memory analysis, so it's quite nice environment to have. And it's open source, you can Google that, you can Google litterbox, GitHub, and there it is, you have it there. Boom. Right. Now, yeah, that's the one, exactly. Okay, so let's get back here. I'm gonna upload the agent now. It's not detected by Defender. Please do not upload to VirusTotal. Please don't do that. Whenever you're testing a C2 framework or your personal payloads, do not upload to VirusTotal if you don't want to blow them up. You can use local implementation like this one, which I suggest, but please don't upload to VirusTotal. So run that, and let's make a static analysis first. So it's gonna run Yara and check PLZ, which essentially checks for known signatures, known bytes inside the binary itself. And oh, surprise, it's clean. No Yara rule was able to detect it. No check PLZ rule was able to detect it. Now let's run dynamic analysis. So proceed, and when you click proceed, it's expected to have a new beacon here. Why? Because it's gonna execute it, and then analyze its behavior whenever it's executed. So you can try to proceed. We have the new beacon now. You can see that it's as an admin, and you can see we have a different strange name. We have the hash and the agent, which is how Litterbox actually uses things to execution. If you upload a file, it's gonna create a copy and execute it with a hash. Now, since that's an admin, we have a different Windows logo, which I like. The UI is nice. And we also have the star before the username, indicating that we are with high or system integrity. Now with that, the dynamic scan is clean. We have Yara clean, PEC was able to detect just one thing, Moneta, Patriot, and Hand Sleeping beacons are all clean. So let's see what PEC was able to see. That's suspicious, alright. Implant, shellcode. I think that's shellcode. EIT hooks, scanning threads, report dump, the ID is that, and we have here what that actually means, to be honest. Yeah, it's shellcode. But why it's shellcode? I think that should be shellcode. Yeah. Do we have any idea how we can force PEC into getting more details about that? Can we somehow force it to explain more about what that means so we can evade it? I don't know. What do you think, chat? Yeah, it's clean. It's clean. Nothing on it. Just PSIF. It was able to find the implant. So maybe what I think happens here is the way PSIF was able to detect how this beacon was able to execute and inject into memory. And nothing else. That's about it. So for now I can say the evasiveness is quite good, quite high. We don't have any other rule triggering that. No defender detected. No hand-slipping beacons or anything else detected. Only one trigger of PSIF. Don't get me wrong, that's usually enough for SOC to receive an alarm and start investigating, but as soon as we don't generate an alert, we should be completely fine. So on the evasiveness scale, I can for sure say that's maybe a 9, and this can be because of two reasons. Now, the first reason is what I think happens, is because the agent itself is small. When you have small agent with less functionality, the AVs or VDRs tend to, when you don't have that much to offer as a C2 agent, you can maybe obfuscate your behavior into being legit. That's what my Haunt agent does, so special thanks to my patrons for making this project possible. They have access to Haunt agent, and it's using native PowerShell for executing commands, including BOFs, assemblies, and PowerShells. Now, I think the size of the payload helps here, so what I can suggest to the developer, if he's watching that video, is to essentially add a function like Mythic, where you can specify which command to include on the payload generation. So when you do that, you can arbitrarily choose what command your payload is gonna have, and it's gonna have different sizes with time. So you can generate payload with maybe one megabyte, less than a megabyte, and varies based on what kind of functions you include, and also to include a function which can load new modules on the go. This is nice for OPSEC reasons because this can randomize your payload and don't create signatures, so that's also one thing that can be worked on. And the second thing is because it's new framework. If you go to the Adaptix C2, never mind. There are plenty of commits, don't get me wrong, that's a nice development here, a nice effort there. But if you go down to the commits, you can see when it was created. Where is the date when it's created? Do I need to go to the last commit? Next. Okay, let's do something else. Maybe try December 2024. Oh no, clear. Let me try. Okay, let me try going back. Okay, so to here. Oops. 2024. Let me try November. Okay, that's fine. Now let me try September. Yeah, so we can think of it to be in 2024 because if you go, I think, to the beginning of 2024, if you go to January and Jan, you don't see nothing. So it's 2024. I think the end of 2024. It already has like 6 releases. So for the time it's developing, I can say that's a quite good progress for the C2 framework itself. Now we have also the extension kits, which are mainly BOFs, because as far as I see, the execution of the C2 framework is mainly around BOFs, but don't get me wrong, that's not bad. because BOFs can do pretty much anything, and usually they are the most OPSEC safe thing to run. So you have BOFs for PowerShell, I hope that's a managed one. You have BOFs for executing assembly, you have BOFs for injection and kernel roasting and things like that. So I think that's a nice idea that they've outsourced that into extensions, but still I think that we need to work on the network side evasiveness. And one last thing I want to try before shutting down the stream is Wireshark. I don't have that, so I can set it up on the Kali here. So Wireshark, I don't have it. Oh, that's bad. And I'm gonna turn off Defender because just for the case I don't want it to scan it in runtime. So manage settings, turn off, bye bye. Wireshark, Windows installer. I hope this would not break the beacon. Let's see. Because when you install Wireshark you would need to install additional network driver for it, but let's see. Yep, they are, but I don't think it's in an unmanaged space. I mean, running PowerShell from the extension kit is just running PowerShell.exe, which is not OPSEC safe, but I would rather go for unmanaged PowerShell. But for now it's quite good. Hand-slipping beacon, I don't think it find anything. Where was I? Here. No, there. Here, and hand-slipping beacons, click. Nothing. Now I need to work on RTDR, that's something on the list. I wanna dedicate more time into researching it. It sounds good for me. Also, Red Elk. If someone used that, guys, please let me know because it sounds badass. So I'm gonna do a stream about it at some time, but now it's not the time. For sure it's not the time. Okay, now what was I doing? Installing Wireshark. So it's downloaded. Run. I said run, please. And especially what I want to see is the size of the requests which are being sent, and especially the method. That's something super important that I need to check. But what happens with that system, please? Is it operating? Do I have internet? Yep, I do. I don't. Can I do it with Choco? Do I have Choco? No, I don't. Ah. Okay, can I run it from there? There it is. Okay. Yep. Okay. No, nothing. So, as mentioned, on the endpoint evasion is quite good. That's the default beacon, guys. That's no modification, no packing, no profile modification, no payload modification, nothing, pure Adaptix beacon. It's quite good. I'm quite happy with the evasiveness, to be honest. I cannot lie. I agree, install, yep, please. Is the beacon still running? I think it should be. That's dead. But that's for sure it's alive. Can I do who am I or get UID? I like that they swapped who am I with get UID. I think it's better. Okay, it's running. We have the Wireshark, finish. Next. Okay. And I'll do Wireshark. Okay, perfect. Now get the adapter, Ethernet. We can also get the EDW reader. Oh, okay, I'm gonna explore that. Let's specify Ethernet and I'll specify TCP or IP.ADDR is equal 192.168.0.152, which is the Adaptix server. Now here we can observe what happens. So you can go here, follow TCP stream, and of course I cannot see the request going because it's HTTP. Yup. Yeah, we would need to have HTTP version. See that? See the bytes. So for example, the first 6 bytes. Make sure to pay attention to first 6 bytes. Dot break bracket dot b. Dot bracket dollar. Dot bracket dollar. Dot bracket dot b. So do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? It's exactly the same, right? It's exactly the same because on the listener tab, or actually, sorry, on the paywall tab. No, on the listener tab, that's these bytes. Because they're the same, they're always the same. So you have a request and response. And if you go down, if you scroll more down, you can see exactly the same template. See, dot brackets b, dot bracket dollar. That's it. And that's repeated with the whole communication. So even though it's encrypted with some kind of a key using SSL, it's still predictable and it's still a template and a pattern. That's why it's super important to have modification on the payload itself. You don't send only with the payload, but a different template with it. Because even though it's encrypted, you can see a predictable pattern. And predictable patterns can be detected by boot teamers, I can say, very easily. So having this thing, the predictable pattern, starting with these specific sequences, always starting with these specific sequences, is something that I can shout out to the developer to address first. Because if you add some kind of arbitrary data, and when they are encrypted, for sure you can evade this kind of signature detection, which is going to make the network evasion even stronger. Now on the endpoint evasion, I can say this C2 is performing super well, but on the network evasion, not so much. And keep in mind that when you speak about evasion, you need to think about evasion as a huge context. Not only the endpoint of AV or DDR, but also the IDS systems, the ETW, maybe the AMSI, if you need PowerShell, of course, the network sensors, the firewall, how the traffic is going to go, what protocol it's going to use. So you need to think a lot about evasion and not only the endpoint evasion. If you want real evasion, you need to also think about the network. And that's why it's super important. So make sure to always check what traffic your payloads are generating and always try to make them as unpredictable as possible. So with that, I can generally say super nice job for the developers of these C2 frameworks. It's been here for less than a year. I can say they've made a huge progress with their C2 framework. So I can completely shout out to them and appreciate all the effort they do. Of course, I'm here just to review it, give some suggestions on how it can become better, and showcase the C2 framework, guys, and give it a score. And for now, it's high. It's really high. Because it's lightweight, it's evasiveness on the endpoint, and it's easy to use and easy to install and easy to interact with. With that were my final words for Adaptix. I really like the effort they are putting. I'm sure that with more work, this can become even better. And also one more thing that I found was interesting, by the way, which was if you go to generate agent, you can, or actually sorry, on the new listener tab, you can specify different profiles. And if you use Gopher TCP, I'm sure that inside the Adaptix C2, you can find the Gopher TCP repository, and you can also make some kind of a Go obfuscator to go and obfuscate the code. You can also modify it to make it custom, and it's, I think, not that hard to customize your own implementation on it. So that's something which is also useful, and it also uses MTLS, which is perfect. With that being said, I want to say massive thanks to patrons. Thank you for supporting my work, and if you have further appreciation to it, make sure to become a patron. There you can access a lot of things like Shadowburn the Packer, like my Haunt Agent, a lot of videos, and pretty much you can show appreciation to my work, which you have a lot of things in return. With that being said, thank you guys for sticking by. Thank you for shouting out in the comments. I really appreciate that, and hope you had fun and learned something new. If that's the case, make sure to smash the like button because that's gonna be uploaded to YouTube also. And also make sure to subscribe if you're not, because that helps my channel a lot. And yeah, have a nice Friday night, depends on where you are right now, and bye. See you in the next one. See ya.